Hi, thanks for having me. As just you were told, I'm the marketing director of Buyapowa. You probably tell from my accent, I'm not in the USA. I'm actually doing this webinar from London, United Kingdom. We are a UK headquartered company. We have quite a lot of clients, I'll show in a minute, in North America. We merged with a Canadian company several years ago, which had quite a good heritage in mobile and fiber. So we say we're the leading global provider of referral and reward marketing services, typically to regulated businesses. We include in that ISPs or fiber broadband providers. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you the results of a survey we did statewide, talking to home broadband subscribers across the United States. So it takes about 35 minutes to run through. Not going to talk very much about Buyapowa. I'm going to talk a lot about what the answers we got to the survey, how we see that, some of the academic research that we spend a lot of time looking into academic research into referral and rewards, etc. So basically what we're trying to do is demonstrate to you how you can scale your subscriber base in a cost-effective manner. When you've got happy customers, you've built trust and affection with your subscriber base, and that actually should be a tool for your growth. So we'll go through the introduction. So these are some of our references. We were hoping to sneak another one in the top row, but the top row is our North American ISP clients. We work with Comcast, Sky in the UK, work with Earthlink, Ziply Fiber, GVTC, in Canada, TELUS, Cogeco, and Telmax. A whole bunch of ISPs in Europe, particularly UK, but also France and Spain. We were really delighted last week. We won the best software provider at the Fiber Awards to the UK ISP industry because we work with all of these guys here, helping them get customer acquisition through referral, helping them get customer acquisition through reward-based welcome offers and affiliate offers, and also helping them with retention. And a bunch of other internationally renowned companies that you might know, like Next Insurance in Canada, Trupanion. And we work with quite a few credit unions like Members First, Delta Community Credit Union, Cal Coast, for example. So if I move on, what I'd just like to start with is today I'm going to talk about home broadband subscribers in the United States only. But in the last year or so, we've done quite a lot of survey-based research. And some of the research we did was global. So our main markets for us, United States, Canada, United Kingdom, France, and Spain. So we did some research generally, across all kinds of industries, across all those countries. And we looked at 3 different areas. One we called Reward Revolution. Now the recorded webinar is available on our site and the research is available on our site. This is really interesting. We asked how many people had referred a friend to a brand in the last year. Now, could be any brand. This could be a beauty brand, could be a fashion brand, could be an ISP, could be a mobile brand, could be an energy brand. 95% of people said yes, they had referred a friend in the last year. If you retain that, it's interesting to compare that with what we saw with ISPs in America. 74% said they would be less likely to refer if there was no reward. So only about a quarter of your customers typically will refer if you don't incentivize them. 70% of friends receiving a referral recommendation said they wouldn't accept it if they didn't get an incentive. And we asked people, something I'll come into a bit later, we tell people to offer a choice of rewards. Don't just offer Amazon vouchers, or don't just offer bill credits or just cash. Let people choose, mix them around, but people said they expected to choose from at least 3 or 4. We then did some more research, again, survey-based against the same 5 countries. We called it Referral Codebreakers. We looked at some of the practices of the leading referral programs, and we asked customers what they thought about referral. So one of the things that we were quite often asked is people said, well, I get a lot of natural word of mouth. People love my service. They refer me. If I put a referral program in there, do I change that into a monetary transaction? But actually, will people look less favorably on me if I'm asking them to refer people? And 2/3 of people said, we actually look favorably on a brand that has a referral program. And an amazing 8 out of 10 said, I want to be able to refer you if you're one of my favorite brands. So you shouldn't be frightened of having a referral program. We also ask people, if your favorite brand has a referral program, how do you want to learn about it? Do you want to just find it serendipitously? Yeah, not a great word to use in a webinar. Serendipitously. Or would you like the brand to tell you about it? And if so, how often? And the respondents said, yes, we want to be told that you have a referral program. We'd like to know about it every 2 months. And the thing we most want to know about is the rewards and when you change the rewards. So changing your rewards is a great way to have an excuse to reach out to your customer base and say, hey, we've got a referral program. And it's not the same old, same old. Really, really interesting stat we got from that is that people are most likely to refer you after a positive experience with customer support. So you've had a problem, you've solved it, they feel good, and that's when they've said they're most likely to refer you. The third bit of research we did was we called it referral myth debunked. Now, a lot of people say about referral, is this incremental? The same a bit with like voucher codes. You know, this person was going to convert, they're already convinced, they were just looking for a reward. So they reached out. There's a lot of sites that are called referralcodes.com or something. You can go and find a code. Well, so we asked people, it's difficult to get in people's heads. Would you have converted anyway? We're actually, right now, we've put in beta, we've got a little survey tool. We ask people at the moment that they actually convert 2-3 quick questions. Did you know of this brand before the referral? Did the referral make a difference, etc.? And it's not incentivized. So they don't really have an incentive to lie. We found that less than half of respondents said that they knew of a brand before a referral, which is quite amazing. 20% said, yeah, they knew about the brand, but the brand referred to them was actually better than the one they used. Now, here's a really interesting stat is 67% of people who said they already knew about a brand said what changed them from consideration to action was knowing their friend liked the brand. So the referral made a big difference. And we also see that referrals convert higher. We see that on our data, but people themselves said they're 2 to 3 times more likely to convert with a recommendation referral. Today, we're going to focus on just what we learned talking to home broadband subscribers of ISPs in the USA. So what do we do? So this is a survey. It's an incentivized survey, but it's only shown to people who self-identify as meeting the conditions. We split this evenly across Northeast, Midwest, South, and West with a more or less equal urban, suburban, rural area split. We had 30 different questions. What we wanted to find here is what motivates your subscriber to refer you. So why would they refer you? What stops them in their tracks? So if you've got a referral program, why does someone go there and say, I'm not going to refer today? We looked a bit at like switching risk and loyalty, and we tried to look at like how attitudes differed by region and also between urban, suburban, and rural. So we'll get into this now. Here was our findings. So the first thing we found was we asked how many people had referred someone to their ISP in the last year. And actually it was lower than we normally see. It's about just under 40% said they'd referred their ISP inside the last year. If you remember, on our general across 5 countries research, it was 95%. So that looks quite low. We asked people, would they refer without any reward? A little bit higher actually for ISPs than we saw for the general public across all different kind of brands across all the 5 different countries. So if you remember, it was about 25%. So it's close to 40% would refer without a reward, which is quite encouraging for an ISP. 40% said they would be likely to refer in the next 6 to 12 months. So not too different from the number of people referred in the last year. This is really interesting. Almost half said that they would be more likely to refer if you give them a time-limited offer or promotion. What I mean by that is like a booster reward. If you refer between the 1st of June and the end of July, you're going to get like double rewards. A little bit of FOMO, so time-limited. You have to do it now or else it's gone. We see across all different verticals we work with. So we work with lots of energy providers, lots of insurance providers, lots of fintechs and banks, some gambling gaming companies, mobile companies, and ISPs. We see that time-limited offers do work. And to make them actually a bit convincing, they need to end. Because if it's a time-limited offer that never ends, it doesn't make you rush. We asked in 2 different questions, would you not be willing to refer? And actually it was between 10 and 23% of people would not refer, whatever. Now, reasons for that might be that they don't have a lot of confidence in the service. Maybe they're unhappy with the service. Some people, as you see later, don't like the idea of like bugging their friends. They don't like the idea of going to their friend and saying, hey, what's your ISP? I'm really happy with mine. Maybe you'd like to change. I've got an offer. Some people feel like, great, if your friend comes to you and says, I'm really annoyed with my ISP, it keeps breaking down, I don't get anyone on the phone. Who do you use? A bit different, but some people are still, up to about a quarter of people said that they wouldn't refer. So what does this show? Just a little recap. So just over a third, close to 40% of people said they referred the ISP. There's a baseline behavior, established behavior. Referral is known in your industry. But as I said earlier, 95% across the general public said they referred someone, some brand. So we think there's a bit of room there for you to improve. You're leaving a lot on the table. So if you don't have a referral program, you don't have attractive rewards, you don't have promotions, you're probably not getting the customers you could get from word of mouth. You're not getting the customers you could get from your happy customers. Remember that over a third would refer without a reward. That's better than we saw in the general public, but it shows that rewards matter. So 70% of your customer base expect a reward. There's some really great research by Yale University a couple of years ago. It talked about why referrals work, and it talked about active and passive matching. Now, passive matching is you're likely to have people like you. If you're a certain age, you know people a certain age. If you're married with kids, you know people married with kids. If you're a Baptist, you know other Baptists, this kind of thing. So if you're a good customer, naturally you're predisposed to know other people to be good customers. So if your ideal customer is a 35-year-old married Baptist with 2 kids, guess what? They'll know other 35-year-old married Baptists with 2 kids. That was passive matching. And then it talked about active matching. So people actually go into their network and they look for people they know would like this, or they know they're looking. So you get more targeted customers. You get people that get the right message at the right time. And actually, often there's something they're looking for. So it's great. But Yale talked a lot about what purpose do rewards serve. Now, this is something you need to be really careful about. We'll talk about later, is don't over-reward. If you over-reward, what you're doing is, this is a thank you for getting your ass off the couch, putting down Netflix, putting down World of Warcraft, and referring. Yale said there's a psychological barrier, which is the referral could turn out to be a bad one. So there's always that little hesitation. You know what? If I refer you to the ISP and you have a terrible time, you're going to say, Pete, no more referrals from you, please. This was terrible. So actually, the reward gets you to do something, takes away a little bit of that fear. But you shouldn't be looking to get people to give up their day job and just refer. This is a thank you. So it should be commensurate with what they do. But rewards matter, right? So having a referral program matters, having rewards matters. Time-limited booster campaigns, promotions, they work. You can't just have the same old referral program with one reward that never changes. It becomes wallpaper. So refresh your campaigns regularly, refresh your rewards regularly, and communicate that. So moving to the next one, we looked at motivators for referral. This is actually very interesting. So we asked people, what is the most important thing for you when it comes to a reward? Is it a reward for you, for your friend? Is it something else? The highest motivator we found is a good deal for your friend. Now, a good deal doesn't mean a reward. And you'll see later that this is really linked to wanting your friend to have a good experience. So the difference between affiliates and referrals is affiliates don't know the people they're selling to. They probably follow their blog. They've never met them. You typically refer your friends, your family, your colleagues, your classmates. You want them to have a good experience. So it's a good deal. It's a whole package. It's a good price, good incentive, good service. That's really interesting to think about. Number two on this was a reward for the referrer themselves, not far behind. So when you're saying to someone, get 25 bucks, refer your friend, that's important. In an ISP concept, that matters. I did a similar web conference a couple of weeks ago with research we did into credit unions in the USA. And this was the other way around. So people in credit unions found it more important that the friend got a reward, not themselves. The third was the reward for the friend. So 15% said it's really important that my friend gets a reward. There's also some great research that Harvard did a few years back, which we wrote about on our blog. A lot of these psychological studies, which are done in universities, they use students as their guinea pigs. In this study, they got people to refer an app, and they gave them a $5 reward. And they said, you can keep the reward. You can share the reward 50-50 with your friend, $2.50 each. You can give the reward to your friend, or you can give it to charity. And the overwhelming response, about 62% from memory, was to give it to the friend. Now, I know this was only a $5 reward, but it shows that people don't want just to give a good recommendation to their friend. They want to give a good deal or a good reward. So a reward is important. So we asked people how important was a friend reward. So almost half said it's either very important or essential. Only 7.4% said it's not important. We asked people what drives you to refer. So what's the motivator that got you today to pick up your mobile phone and text someone, or send a message, or send an email, or tell someone, or give them your QR code to scan? Main motivator, and this is really interesting with ISPs compared to some of the other industries we've done surveys in, is confidence in the service is number one motivator. So again, talk about giving a good deal to your friend. If the ISP has terrible service, you're always losing connection, it's really slow, they're not going to refer. The main motivator is like, hey, I have a good service. I want my friend to have a good service. Only just under 11% said that loyalty or the local provider was actually important. So this idea of being, hey, we're the guys in your community, we're local, actually wasn't that important. If you think about it, twice as important was having a good service. What does it show? Quick recap. So referrals are all about trust. If you didn't know that, it's kind of obvious, but this is a classic difference between a referral and affiliates. Affiliates or influencers, they're just in it for the cash. They just want to get people to buy. They don't know the people. They care about their reputation, but it's not the end of the world if someone has a bad time. Referrals about people you know and trust. You want them to have a good time. You want them to have a good experience. This is really important. So you want to assure your referrers that the friend will have a good time. So good tips here is reach out at moments when the subscriber is happy. They've just given you good NPS. They gave you a good review. They've renewed. They've upgraded. They've maybe, paid another $5 and got the next level. So remind them they're happy. Tell them, hey, thanks very much for upgrading. Thanks very much for the great review. A great tip is to remind them that they were referred themselves. There's some other great research came out about a year ago called Referral Contagion, which was done by the University of Berkeley. And this was done on 40 million subscribers of a US mobile technology company. I believe it's Ring Central, done over 8 years. They empirically were able to prove that referring customers are more valuable. They're more valuable because they stay longer, they spend more, and they also refer more than other customers. They also cost less. But a great little expert tip that came out of that, they found that people were 20% more likely to refer if you remind them that they were referred. So number one, you're happy. Number two, you're referred. but use social proof. So remember your referrer, your potential referrer is thinking, will my friend have a great time? Well, hey, you had a great time. But look at all the other people that did. So use your reviews, your ratings, your testimonials, number of subscribers. 100,000 people in West Kentucky or whatever, if there's 100,000 people in West Kentucky, whatever, use our service, our average rating is this. This gives your potential referrer a bit of confidence that actually the friend will have a good time. And remember, this was the number one motivation to refer. Like I said, don't ignore the importance of giving an incentive to the friend. Your referrer will be much happier making a recommendation. One of the errors we saw with when we first started in referral, we worked with lots of retail companies. We work with very few these days. One of the biggest errors they did was they either didn't give a friend incentive, or they gave an incentive, but they were giving better incentives in every other promotion they did. You turn up to the homepage and there were 5 different promotions. One was giving you $20, $25, and the referral friend was giving you 15. So guess what? People turn up to the homepage and they went on the other promotion. But friend incentives are important. They're important because, again, I know you, you trust me. I want to repay that trust by giving you a good recommendation. But also, if you accept my link, use my code, you're going to get $25 Amazon voucher. If you just go straight to the site, you get nothing. So I'm giving you a good tip and a good deal. Again, this is something that's probably more like applicable to ISPs and other sectors, but don't confuse reward for the friend to a good deal for the friend. So having good service and a good price, the basics. We did a whole bunch of interviews on our website recently. We've done them on YouTube, but they're on our website. And we've interviewed everyone from like Ali Bank, Robinhood, Wise, Wealth Simple, Trupanion, Delta Community Credit Union, Tube, which is a UK ISP client of ours, and Smarty, which is one of our UK mobile companies. And we talk a lot about, in this, some of the basic fundamentals of referral. And there's a great quote from the guy from Robinhood. And he said, the basis of referral is you have a great service that people want to talk about and share with their friends. If you don't have that, you need to give people such high incentives that it won't be economic to share, to get the referral program. So the basis is you have a great program that people will recommend to their friends. You have a great service, you have a good price, and you give someone just enough to get their ass off the couch and get them referring. So you don't give them too much, but if you don't have a great product, you won't get referrals. It's probably obvious, but the research shows this up. Exactly the same thing. People won't recommend a bad deal to their friends to get money. You might recommend it to someone you don't know or don't care about, but not to your, not to your uncle, not to your aunt, not to your best friend, not to your neighbor. The other thing is here, came out of this is, don't just expect that people being loyal to you is enough to get a referral. You have to ask. So ask and ask and ask and ask again. Ask it as many times as you can. The ninja tip with a referral is when you can identify people are happy, that's when you should ask. And, create that confidence in your service, in that people are happy with you. Remind them they're happy and they'll refer you. So moving on. We talked about reward choices a little bit earlier. So we asked people to choose. So one of these like selectors where you can only choose one. So what type of reward would you like? 34% said cash. Might surprise you. Most people would say cash. Cash is fungible. I can use cash anywhere. Funny thing about cash is just that. It's fungible. You stick it in your pocket. If you have kids, you come home, mom, pop, I need some cash. The cash is gone from your pocket before you even had the pleasure of like spending it. You pay a bill with it, something you regret, something you hate. It doesn't give you a pleasurable feeling. So that surprisingly, actually cash I've seen in other industries, often a higher motivator, but it number one motivator always, but it didn't dominate. Actually, bill credits work in the ISP space. They're kind of seen as the equivalent of cash. You're getting something off your next bill. Kind of see it. You're liking the service. You're getting a discount off your next month ISP bill. What we have seen with bill credits across different ISPs and different mobile clients we work with is they kind of get a bit stale. You can only have so many bill credits. You have the crazy situation where someone has like free service for 8 years. You know, the incremental value of the next bill credit seems to be less. Gift cards, third-party gift cards, 15%. Gift cards often have a better psychological effect than cash. This is due to what we call mental accounting. So if I give you cash, it's gone in your wallet, you've spent it on something you didn't even think about it, but that $20 bill looked like another $20 bill. If I give you a gift card and you spend it, especially if it's something that's an experience or something that's unique, you're going to think about this. Now, I went to ISP America about a couple of months ago, and I was talking about this with a woman there, and she said, well, I referred someone to for a brand, and I got an Amazon card, and my husband spent it, so I didn't even get the benefit of it. And I said, you should have like chosen Victoria's Secret, because then he wouldn't have spent it. But you see the way that we associate spending that on getting something nice in our hands we wanted. So gift cards actually, what we've seen is the longer we work with a client, the more gift cards become prevalent. Upgrades. Now, you're an ISP, you might do OTT, you might have a higher, level bandwidth, you might have a better service level. Actually, people value that as much as gift cards. Charity donation, quite low. It was higher in credit unions, maybe wouldn't surprise you. But the interesting thing here is if you look at that, yeah, cash was number one, but you might think a cash is going to be 80%. No. We asked people, what did you expect? What reward value do you expect to get to refer someone? The good news here is the highest response, about a third, was between $25 and $49. If you think about what a monthly ISP subscription is, that's not bad. The second response was actually $10 to $24, not far behind. 20% wanted $50 to $99, and a crazy 10% wanted more than $100. It's a survey after all. Some people always put a crazy number, but it actually shows you that people, they kind of got an idea of what the service is worth. They've got an idea of what's a fair exchange for bringing a new customer. They know what they pay in a monthly ISP bill. So if I'm bringing your customer $50, $25 might seem a good exchange. So we asked people, you referred someone to your ISP, when should you get the reward? Now, this is actually very interesting for me. So the first one, the highest response was after service installation activation. So your customers understand that they should get paid, not when you refer their friend and they go and sign up, maybe not even when they pay, when the service has been installed. So your friend is getting the benefit of the service. It's great for an ISP. One of the USPs of Buyapowa is we typically don't pay out any rewards until we know it's a valuable referral. By that, I mean, you set post-completion conditions. You talk about, your friend comes in, you will get paid once your friend has paid their first bill. Once your friend has been installed, they haven't canceled in a cooling off period. That means you get value. You're not giving away rewards for nothing. In the series of what we call referral MVP videos we did, it's a great video with a gentleman called David Hickson at Ali Bank. That's a $4 billion financial institution. They set up a referral program after about 5 years of sitting on the fence and thinking it was too difficult. Within 9 months, they were getting 15% of all of their customers from that. But he tells a really nice anecdote about how you can be kind of naive with promotions. And he talks about the promotion they did outside of referral, but years ago, where they said, if you open an account, you'll get $100 paid into the account. But they didn't stipulate a minimum deposit. So lots of people set up an account with $1. Guess what? They got $100, they closed the account and they left. So it just shows the more you can protect the value, if you're naive, people will take advantage of it. So for me, this is great news. A third of your customers are willing to wait until their friend is installed, activated the service. A quarter said when the friend pays the bill, kind of the same thing. I'm not sure when, whether you pay the bill or you get service activation first. It depends on the supplier. But So more than half of people are willing to wait until you've got value before they receive a payment. I think that's great news. Again, about a quarter wanted to get paid as soon as their friend signs up. This I thought was great. About 20%, a fifth, said they don't really care as long as it's clearly communicated. So what we find is that as long as it's clear, as long as it seems fair to your customers, they will wait. So by that, you explain it on the referral page. You know, you will normally get paid within a month because it takes a month for your friend to like complete the onboarding. We do a referral area for each referrer where they can see all of their pending referrals, how many they got, and they can see that, you know, oh, it's going to take an average of this. And also we encourage them to refer again. It's very important. But as long as you clearly communicate that and it seems fair and there's a nice balance of effort against what they get out of it, people are prepared to wait. So this is a great response. We asked people a little bit about between guaranteed and conditional rewards. So we asked people, would you prefer to get paid now as quick as possible or get a higher reward and get paid later? Surprisingly, people want certainty. They answered this question. It sounds a little bit different from the question above, but you know, I prefer a guaranteed smaller reward now as soon as my friend signs up. But actually not far behind that, people said, yeah, I'm prepared to wait till my friend does this, activates a service, pays. But actually I prefer a little larger reward if I've got that little bit of like more time, a little bit more risk. So you understand risk reward. So maybe if it works for you, pay a small reward on lead generation, or maybe you pay a larger reward and you put post-completion conditions. The post-completion conditions we always recommend, but you have to be upfront, clear, and it needs to be fair. Almost a third said they had no preference. Quick recap, what does it show? Cash is the most important, but all of the other options added up to 2/3 of responses. So again, a reminder, they could only choose one. So they didn't choose cash. That's why we say offer rewards choices. We use several different rewards catalogs. We have access to 5,000 different rewards. We typically recommend that people offer between 3, 4, maybe 5, 6. There's a famous, as a marketer, there's a famous marketing study that's always quoted in business schools and marketing degrees. Study of jam in grocery stores. If you offer 1 jam, you sell this. You offer 2, you sell more. You offer 3, you sell more. You sell 4, you sell more. So you get to 6. Once you sell more than 6, you start dropping sales because you confuse people. You know, come in, you're like, wow, I didn't think about elderflower and strawberry. I didn't think about lemon and ginger. So, you know, what people do is they scratch their heads and they leave, and they maybe go to like Google to see if there's is elderflower and ginger better than elderflower and strawberry better than ginger and lemon or something. But actually, we have some clients that have actually let people choose a huge number of rewards, and what they said was really important. Was people went through the back catalog. There was a small number of people that went for every single one. So some people wanted balloon rides, some people wanted this charity donation, some people wanted this. So don't think that it's only cash, bill credits, Amazon vouchers. Let people choose. You don't have to give cash, but use cash values in headlines. So if it's, and typically when you're giving, say, vouchers, if it's $25 vouchers or gift cards, make that sound better. So if you're giving 50 and 50, share $100 with friends. It's all about framing. Some of the best referral programs, some of our clients, some of the non-clients, what they do is they put a limit, and you can decide if you need a limit in the year. It's typically done to try and stop gaming and stop like influencers. If you let people, if you're prepared to pay $50, and you limit that at 5, share $500 with friends this year. It sounds so much better than make $50. There's another great anecdote from the Ali Banks interview we did, and they put a limit of 5, but they found some people still referred 100, even though they got nothing for the next 95. So it shows the value of having a referral program. Bill credits are attractive for ISP subscribers. In other industries, we found that they're not as attractive. North American, US ISP subscribers understand the value of bill credit. It does appeal, at least in the survey. Go back to what we said before, is we find that they get quite stale, they get quite boring, they get a bit blah after a while. So, offer other alternatives. They don't need high rewards. Remember, it's $20 to $50 the most common, but used framing, as I've mentioned. Wherever you can, protect your margins by only paying out for valid, valuable referrals. We work with Comcast Sky in the UK, which is huge. I don't know if you guys know it. So it does OTT, does all the sports, does broadband, does mobile, does also a product called Sky Glass, does Now TV. You can have like a different preferences set for different members of the family. What they do is really great. They have one referral program. If I refer you there, what you get and what I get depends on the bundle you take. So if I take the lowest option, which is the mobile, MVNO, I get very little. But if I take the lot, we'll both get quite a lot. So, and then again, don't pay that out on a soft conversion, just on my friend like signed up, but cancels the service or never pays the first bill. If you can, put in post-completion milestones. That's how you get the money out of a referral program. But you need to make it clear and you need to make it sound fair. And also, your subscribers are prepared to wait longer if they get a larger reward. So if you're making people wait to protect your value, maybe think about offering a little bit more. You will see as well that what your customers expect from a referral program will be conditioned by what's out there in the market. There are other ISPs competing against you which offer this. There are non-ISPs. Everyone's a customer of a fashion brand, a retailer, an energy company. So they'll have an idea what's fair. This is interesting. We ask people, what stops you in your tracks? What stops you referring? So what are your main reasons for hesitation? If for an ISP subscriber, surprise, surprise, we explained earlier, I'm worried my friend will have a bad experience. Now, that might be because I'm having a bad experience myself, or it might be that I'm not confident enough about you. So again, on that point about social proof, it's not enough that your current subscriber is having a good experience. Maybe they think in my part of the state is good, but in the north it's bad. Just remind people, use social proof. We have this number of satisfied customers. Look at our ratings, look at our reviews, remind people. Same thing, not confident in service quality. This is quite unique to ISPs. The people, they're not going to refer just on the reward. They want to see that the service quality is good because that's what your friend is going to perceive. This is something we see in all industries. People say, hey, I don't like pushing things on my friends. I don't want to be the guy interrupts a discussion to say, why don't you join X broadband? It is what it is. It's interesting to understand that. It's like a lot of people are happy to say, I recommend my broadband company if you ask me, but I don't want to initiate the conversation. 14% said they didn't even know there was a referral program. So again, promote. You're leaving money on the table by not pushing your referral program. By pushing it, I mean both active and passive. Passive is it should be in the footer or the headline navigation on your homepage. Every email, every newsletter you send out should have it in navigation. It should be in your FAQ page. It should be in your customer support page, in your client area, in your app. And then active promotion. That is SMS messages, text messages. That's in-app notifications. That's newsletters, emails, social posts. Every touch point. So at ISP America, I was speaking to one gentleman who said to me, we tell our call center operatives, if someone says they're happy with the service, you never end the phone call without saying, you can get $25 by referring a friend. So this is money on the table. The other one is too confusing, too much effort. So 10% of people said, wow, this is quite often a case when people do their in-house programs, they say, put your friend's name in, put your friend's surname, put your friend's email, put your friend's address, put your friend's phone number. You might not have all that information. In one of our clients, Delta Community Credit Union, they give us a great example. When they had an in-house program, they did exactly that. And then they couldn't match the referrer to the referee because your friend is actually christened John William Henry, but you know him as John, or you don't know him as John, sorry, you know him as Bill. So you put in Bill, and they're trying to, where does Bill fit with John William? So just giving people a link that they can share. They don't need to know their friends' information. I'm a great fan of a book. It's quite an old book. You might know it. It's Don't Make Me Think by a guy called Steve Krug. And it's been republished a few times. The whole thing is, if I make you think, I make you stop. And when I make you stop, you'll probably leave. So make it easy. If you're asking someone to fill in a form and put in their friend's phone number, if I don't have the phone number, what do I do? Well, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. The prerequisites of referral. We ask people, what do you need to have to feel comfortable referring your ISP? So again, this comes back to something that's consistent throughout this whole survey. I personally must have experienced good service and reliability. So probably out of all the different surveys I've done, it's the one that this has been the most cited, ISP subscribers. The actual perception of the service you get is super important because you want your friend to have a good service. This is a great one as well. When you have problems, nobody expects to have no problems. They want them resolved quickly and fairly. They want to understand the referral terms and conditions. So it needs to be fair. It needs to be easy. They don't have to read like small print. People know how to refer. They're used to referring in other contexts, but it needs to look easy. They want to know what the friend gets. They want to give their friend a good deal, a good reward. And they want to trust your billing and your price transparency. So, a lot of ISPs worldwide are known for this, is that they get you with an offer and they have to put the price up to make the money. And, people get hit by that. Wow, why is my price gone up 15%? Only 4% said they'd refer regardless of all this. So, your subscribers aren't mainly motivated by money. Talked about simplicity. Most people said they only want to do a few clicks. That's why we find what we do is we have native integrations with apps. You're on your mobile phone. You should just be click, click, click into like WhatsApp, click, click, click into Facebook Messenger, click, click, click into my email and gone. It's not fill in a long form and put in the details about my friend's inside leg measurement. So they just won't have that information. If you're going to make them fill in a form, a short form with a few steps, again, I go back to the Steve Krug book. Every extra step in a form means someone drops out. This is interesting, a little bit like the bit about prepared to wait a bit longer for your reward. They'll accept a more complex form if the reward is higher. So actually, if you want to pay less, make it easy. 10%, they're not willing to refer under any circumstances. What does it show? You need to give people a good experience. Super important ISP concept. Ninja tactic is find people when you know they're happy. I met a company who's now part of Accenture, this Bulgarian company of all things. They did a great technology. What they did is they took your MPS customers, you could identify MPS customers, and they said you'd get maybe 6% of people to respond. And they modeled against 1,000 touch points to predict everyone across your database. And they would say, right, these are people with high MPS, people with low. And it got better over time, but they said they started at about 95% accuracy and they got to 99, which is really cool. But if you don't have the luxury of that, people tell you they're happy all the time. They tell you on a call, they tell you on a chatbot, they say, hey, are you happy with the service? Yeah, great. Did I solve your problem? Yeah, great. Would you recommend a friend? Yes. MPS literally says, would you recommend a friend? So you should be saying, right, do you know we have a referral program with reward? Fear the friend won't like the service. I've mentioned it several times. So allay that fear, use social proof. Remind people they had a good experience. Simplify the journey. You'll get more from simplifying your journey than paying more. If you just want to pay more and not simplify the journey, your choice. It needs to be clear what they do and what the friend gets. And don't make people fill in long forms. Size of referral networks. This is interesting. How many people would you be able to refer in the next 6 months if you had a good program? What we found here is most people had only 1 or 2 people they would refer. Next was 3 to 4. Next was 5 to 9. Next was 5% only had 10 people in mind that they think they could refer. Very interesting. There's a bit in the Ali Bank interview we talked about earlier where David Hickson talks about what he calls onesies and twosies. He said that the best referrers, these are the kind of people you talk to over a barbecue on the weekend, your old school friend, and you say, in his case, what bank do you work with? But he'd say, what ISP do you use? And get out a QR code, let people scan, they go. And he said, those bring you the best new customers and they convert the best. It also has some, 23% said no one. So you have a very small tail of super referrers in typical ISP. It was a little higher in urban areas, density of neighbors, rural subscribers have smaller networks, but higher propensity to refer, which is interesting. So you typically need tactics that engage a larger percentage of your database. So yeah, that's what I just said there. Remember, gamification and special treatment, super referrers, tiered rewards, VIP treatment, things like this can work. Getting close to the end of this. We talked about switching. We asked people how many ISPs have you used in the last 5 years. 40% have only been with one ISP in the last 5 years. 33% two. 27 used 3 or more. How many people are open to switching if they get a referral recommendation from a friend? 40%. 35% said they would stay put. So 35% happy, not a reward won't make them change because they've got a good service. Bit of regional differences here. West and Midwest were more open to switching, but the differences aren't great. And urban subscribers are more willing to change compared to suburban and rural. Maybe rural have less options. This is a table, regional differences. Kind of see that the numbers themselves per region don't jump at you. Ever refer to friends, a little bit higher in Midwest. Would refer without a reward, a little bit higher in Midwest, but kind of same ballpark. Likely to join a referral program next 6 to 12 months. Again, kind of the same. Respond to limited time offer, kind of the same. North, Midwest a bit higher, West higher, but not huge differences. The main thing I'd retain from this is, remember I talked at the beginning of this presentation about how across all industries, 95% of people had referred in the last year. It's surprisingly low for ISPs. So there's money left on the table. Summary, this is my last slide. So referrals establish behavior in ISPs, but there's a huge opportunity to improve with better performance, best practices, just simple best practices. So, market it better, get better rewards. If that doesn't work on your proposition, actually think about your proposition, survey people, they're happy. Promote, and promote when people are happy. Give people reward choices, think about friend incentives. Lead with cash amounts. You don't have to offer cash, but even if it's bill credits, share $100 of bill credits with your friend. The big ticket cash numbers work. Time limited promotions do work. We see it work in every industry work in, but they need to be eye-catching and they need to end. Make your referral program really easy. Remind people that their friend will have a good experience. A line I use a lot is, we will look after your friend the way we looked after you. If you have super referrers, target them a bit differently. That's the end of my presentation. So I don't know if there were any questions.
So we don't have any questions as yet.